The Special Committee on the Criminal Justice Complex of the Wayne County Commission will now come to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Varga,
Here.
Commissioner Marecki,
Here.
Commissioner Baydoun has requested an excuse. Vice Chair Anderson,
Present.
Chair Kinlock,
Present.
you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
We're moving to item B, Chairman's remarks.
At this time, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. And one thing that I would like to start out by saying, I really appreciate serving on this committee and under the leadership of our former chair, Glenn Anderson, and look forward to winding down the work of this committee. But we will have a presentation on today's agenda that will speak to some of the rationale and the need for this, speak to our heightened need for this new criminal justice complex. And so with that being said, that concludes my chairman's remarks. And we will now go to the next item on the agenda.
We're moving to item C, approval of the December 16th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Move
Chair,
approval.
is there support? Is there support?
Support. Move to recommend, I guess. I don't know
yes,
which one
right.
it is.
Yes.
No, because this doesn't, I don't think so, because this doesn't go to full board.
Okay, I move to approve then.
Yeah. I think.
Yes, me too. Yes, is there, let me ask, is Madam Clerk, what action is required under this new process?
Through the chair, just the motion to approve is appropriate.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported to approve the meeting minutes of the December 16th, 2021 meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? This action stands approved. The next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
We're moving on to new business, item D1 under new business, presentation on the history of One Family, One Judge by the Third Circuit Chief Judge Timothy Kenny with Family Division Presiding Judge Melissa Cox, Aaron Lincoln, a friend of the court, and Judge Virgil Smith.
Thank you. And at this time, the chair will recognize Chief Judge Timothy Kenny of the Wayne County Third Circuit Court, who will now make a presentation on the One Family, One Judge. And then also, I would like the Chief Judge to introduce some individuals who also are present with us today.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the invitation. This is my second time with the commission in one day, and that's certainly a benefit for me. I do want to let you know I have brought along with me a number of colleagues and also very valuable administrators here in our court. Let me start by introducing the Chief Judge Pro Tem, Judge Patricia Frazard. She is the presiding judge as well in the civil division. She has served with me in an invaluable capacity for the past 3 years. My term as a judge, I'm aged out at the end of this calendar year, and the Supreme Court has appointed Judge Frazard to be the next Chief Judge, and we will be certainly in good hands in that regard. Also with us is the presiding judge in the juvenile division of our court, and that is Judge Edward Joseph, and he has been in that capacity for the past 3 years. We also have the presiding judge for our family domestic division, Judge Melissa Cox, who has been doing yeoman's work in terms of working with the many challenges that we are facing, dealing remotely with self-represented people. And she has done a great job in that regard. We also have our executive court administrator, Zanelle Brown, who has previously been a friend of the court for the Third Circuit Court, and brings a wealth of administrative experience to the position. Also, we have Aaron Lincoln, who is the friend of the court for the Third Circuit Court and oversees a tremendous responsibility and a lot of employees that we have here in the court, making sure that custody matters get adjudicated and working with our staff to make sure that residents of Wayne County get child support payments to them as timely as we can, given the staffing shortages and the pandemic that we have. Toylan Smith is our deputy court administrator with the juvenile division, and she has extensive experience as a supervisor and administrator in the juvenile division and has stepped up in the last month and a half to become the deputy court administrator for the juvenile division. We also have, may seem like I brought the Mormon Tabernacle Choir here with me, but we're bear with me for just a moment, if you would. Also, Lynn Roberts, our chief financial officer, is here with us, who can answer some questions if you may have about, some of the budgetary costs we have in terms of operating in multiple locations. And certainly, last but not least, I want to introduce our former Chief Judge, Virgil Smith, who has had, during his time, not only serving in the legislature, but certainly serving in leadership roles in our court, has in fact had a passion for the family division and also his passion for families and youth here in Wayne County. Now, hopefully I have not missed anyone. I don't think I have. Okay. I thank you, Mr. Chair, for indulging me that few minutes.
Well, thank you.
In the invitation that was extended to me by the chair was the opportunity to share this notion of the family court and the notion of one judge and one family. This is a concept that started out back in the 1980s, and I'm going to ask Judge Smith to share a little bit about the history of it, because he walked right through that right from the beginning. I think the importance of the one family, one judge concept will be made clear to you, I think, by Judge Smith. And I think that our being here this afternoon is to share with you a little bit in an overview of how our being in three separate buildings is really hindering our ability to have that one judge, one family court concept that every other county in the state of Michigan is able to do. We can't, and we don't. And much of it also is linked to the fact that the buildings, two of the three buildings that we are in terms of handling family-related litigation, really are terrible, quite frankly. I have extended an invitation to your board chair, Chair Bell, an invitation for our court to provide a tour of the Lincoln Hall of Justice, as well as the Penobscot building where our friend of the court operation is. And the chair has graciously accepted. We're going to set some dates in March, and we're going to give you more than the nickel tour of what it looks like and how this has impacted families and our ability to deliver justice to children and families here in Wayne County. Let me just take a brief moment to share with you just a little story. I joined the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office in 1973. In 1975, I began being assigned homicide cases. And when I was assigned homicide cases, I received a case in 1975 that involved a juvenile who was charged with first-degree murder. Back then, there was no designated juvenile statute that called for a kind of an automatic waiver. What we had was a situation where you had to go to the juvenile court and first get the juvenile judge to conduct a hearing and then decide that the juvenile should be tried as an adult rather than stay in the juvenile court. At this point, this was in Building B at the Lincoln Hall of Justice. And that building is still in use right now. And I will tell you, when I went there in 75 and went to that building for the very first time in my life, I thought I was walking into a haunted house. It was terrible. It was terrible, in terrible condition in 1975. And regrettably, unlike fine wine, it has not improved with age. And I know that we talk about how families and children in particular are such a valued resource. And unfortunately, to have to bring them to a building such as the existing Lincoln Hall is most unfortunate. But I would like to take a moment, if I could, with the chair's permission, to invite Judge Virgil Smith to provide the kind of overview of how this one family, one court concept historically came into play, and what are the practical barriers right at this moment that prevent us from getting there. So, Judge Smith.
Thank you, Chief Kenny. To Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it's a pleasure for me to be here in front of this committee and to be able to try to give you a little bit of history of the creation of the family court. The family court was sponsored by Representative Ethel Terrell. She sponsored it when she first came into the legislature. She came in '86. She sponsored it shortly afterwards. And Representative Terrell served on the committee dealing with families and children. She was very committed. And she was able to get this legislation passed in 1996. After it was passed in 1996, what the legislation did was the legislation transferred the authority of the abuse and neglect and delinquency from the probate court to the circuit court. And the reason that it did that is it wanted to put all of the departments and courts dealing with children under the circuit court and not have it split between two divisions in the court, probate and circuit. The primary reason it did that was so that we could begin to start the concept of one family, one judge. That concept was being implemented throughout the country. It was part of the new orientation to be orientated toward families. We were able to get that passed in the legislature. I was the state senator for Highland Park at the time. It was implemented. It is now operating in 82 of the 83 counties in Michigan and has been operating in those 83 counties since 1998. The tragedy of Representative Terrell's legislation is that she fought hard to get it through. She knew the impact that it would have, one court, one family, but she never got to see it implemented in her home community that she represented, the city of Highland Park. She never got to see it implemented in the county of Wayne. And it primarily was not implemented in the county of Wayne because the history of courts, how courts were structured did not get structured until 1980. We used to have municipal courts. We used to have a justice of the peace. We used to have a lot of different structures within the court that was standardized in the 1980 legislation when we created the Supreme Court Administrator's Office, and we standardized the Court of Appeals as the appellate court, the circuit courts as the courts of general jurisdiction in the county, and the creation of the district courts, which we did in 1980 under legislation that I sponsored. My passion was families and children when I went to the court system, and I went to the juvenile division because I wanted to try to make a difference with families and children. The tragedy is that we've never been able to implement the one family, one court model. And it's tragic from the standpoint that we have one family that may end up having to go to the Penobscot building for the friend of the court, or may have to go to the domestic relations division in the Coleman Young building, or may have to go to juvenile court. And there's a different judge and magistrate in each of those places. And so instead of one judge, one family, in Wayne County, we might have 3 to 4 judges and a couple magistrates, and nobody's talking to one another. There's no communication from one division to the other regarding that family. That's not happening in the other 82 counties in this state. And from that perspective, our families are really losing. Chief, you know it as well as I do. I'll throw it back to you at this point.
Thank you.
Okay. So I just wanted the members of the committee to get the overview. That's what we were asked to
Yes.
provide today. There's a lot more detail that we would really welcome the opportunity to come back and talk with you about solutions. How do we get there? Because that's what I know you need to wrestle with, because you need to wrestle with, well, what are the dollars? How is this going to better serve the people of Wayne County? How much is this going to cost? Where are we going to put it? Those are big questions that need to be asked, and we want to provide you with answers on that. It's a much deeper discussion, probably of many more than just one meeting, but we did want to share with you what the goal is, and the goal is one family, one judge, all under one roof.
Yes, and I did talk with the executive, and he has his team has been in touch with you, along with Khalil Rahal and others.
Yes.
Within the administration, and there's discussions currently taking place that may at some point warrant commission's actions. And I have, and you, and as well as the county executive, invited me to attend that meeting that you all, the next meeting that you all are having. And so, so I know that the discussions are being very fruitful and progressing to try to reach some remedy to bring about this one judge, one family policy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So in closing, I want to thank you for coming. Is there anything else you want to share with the committee? I know I appreciate you bringing the overarching overarching overview of this proposal and this need. And before you go, I'm going to ask: are there any committee members who have any questions of the Chief Judge or anyone from his team?
I have a question, if I may.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Hi, Judge.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Commissioner.
Happy New Year. Before COVID, we were talking about, and I believe, seems like so long ago before COVID, but with Judge Kaufman, there were discussions about a civil campus going on then, which would include this, right? Which would include these courts, the family courts.
Yes, there were a couple of meetings that our court had, Janelle Brown, our court administrator, and I had with Mr. Kaufman regarding what this second court building would look like, specifically bringing obviously the juvenile, family, domestic, friend of the court, and also civil, all into one other building. And ideally, we would like to see it on the same campus, if you would, with the new criminal courthouse and the jail and the juvenile detention facility.
Yes. Oh, so it was only just a couple of meetings before everything hit the fan.
Then the pandemic hit, and that, obviously threw everything into sort of a pause button. And then along with that, then Mr. Kaufman left. And so we have been sort of meeting anew, trying to get things going now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's disappointing because it sounded like they really wanted to start talking about that. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Judge Cox. So
Good to
see
okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a chair recognized Corp Counsel James Heath.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, your honors. Happy to hear that you're here to talk about this. I was a little afraid that Judge Kenny had come to the CJC meeting to get me. So I'm glad that's not the case. So I just want to echo the sentiments that Judge Kenny mentioned, and also remind the committee that the entire commission did approve pre-COVID a contract to do some feasibility study work with the HOK contractor, who, as you know, is the lead architect for the CJC project. One of the several meetings that we had was looking at some needs assessment in very general terms with the court. We still have that information, and I think everyone in the administration, as well as the court, is in agreement that these conversations need to continue. You are right, Mr. Chairman, about the county executive's position on that, and we have a number of conversations that need to happen so that we can flesh out some of the substantial financial issues. I can see the CFO's head spinning as we talk about this, but also as well as the location that might be available to us. And so it's a pretty complicated issue as we bring the criminal justice complex to an end, and then as we continue to have conversations with the Third Circuit Court on a host of issues. So I just want to reiterate to you, Mr. Chairman, that this is an issue that we are certainly interested in and want to continue to move the ball down the field on. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Vice Chair Glenn Anderson. Unmute. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Chief Judge Kenny, I just had a quick question for you, and I was talking offline to
Zanelle, and this will save her from having to remember and tell you that I wanted to speak to you. I'll make it real brief. There's been a lot of consideration about the bail issue with folks having to go to jail for not having enough cash to pay for a bond. And I don't know if, there may not be the time today to get into that, but I'm interested in seeing what's been done up to this point. And Zanelle mentioned that you had been working on that issue, and it might have been pre-COVID when most of the discussions were taking place, but just hoping to get an update, if not today, sometime soon, to see where we stand with that, if there's any movement on it. And I realize that it's a big issue with a lot of parties and a lot of moving parts. And but I just wondered if you would want to address it at all today, even briefly, or would you like to do that at a future date?
I think a future date would be better, because I think, Commissioner, as you mentioned, there are a lot of moving parts. Let me start out by saying that the initial bail decision in criminal cases is made at the district court level. Third Circuit Court comes into play in terms of reviewing bonds that have been set. I will tell you right now, and I know it's no surprise to you because I know how actively you are involved in the community. Many of the people who end up not being able to make bond on low-end, nonviolent types offenses are very often people who have either a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue, or both, and they have either lost or they don't have a support network. Having worked in the criminal division for a long time, I've encountered people where I could reduce somebody's bond to $10 and they wouldn't be able to make it. We are looking at those issues. We're looking to try to get those individuals who are charged with nonviolent low-end offenses, usually misdemeanors and ordinance violations. If they have any kind of substance abuse history or mental health history, we're trying to get them evaluated within 48 hours of the time they hit the jail. And we're looking to get them into either residential treatment or get them into some sort of supportive circumstance. But there are a lot of moving parts. Be happy to share with you at your convenience what we are doing. And I will tell you that we have been, although we haven't done it in the last month or so, I meet with representatives of the attorneys for the jail inmates, the sheriff's department, and Prosecutor Worthy to review those who could be released for administrative purposes. So, but I'm happy to talk with you in detail at your convenience. If you want to reach out to me, we'll schedule something, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions on that regard.
Very good.
Okay?
That's fair enough. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, and Judge Kenny and all of the judges and the staff within the Third Circuit who joined us today. I look forward to continuing to speak with you regarding this as the executive and administration work out the details to continue to have this ideology and this policy and law brought to the citizens of Wayne County.
Mr. Chair, if you would, you asked me a moment ago if there's anything else I wanted to say, if I could have 60 seconds more, if I could. That there is an issue. It doesn't have to do with any building right at the moment or new campus, but there is an issue that may possibly come upon your radar in the very near future. Because of the pandemic, we are faced with a situation where there is a shortage of clerical personnel in the Wayne County Clerk's office to process complaints that are filed in the Family Domestic Division. We've met with the State Court Administrator's Office. We're going to be meeting with the State Court Administrator's Office and the Clerk's Office very, very shortly, the beginning of February, as a matter of fact, to deal with this particular issue. Because right now, someone who files a complaint electronically in a divorce, unless it's an emergency, they don't even know what judge they're assigned to for 6 weeks. That's intolerable. And that does not serve the citizens of Wayne County at all. We're taking steps to try to, we've offered and will be providing laptops to staff of the sheriff of the clerk's office so that they can, work overtime if needs be. So if the issue comes up about overtime for the clerk's office, I want you to know that the Third Circuit Court is going to be right there with them in support of this, to support the people, residents. Okay, so thank you.
No, Chief Judge, let me just say that on this issue right here that you just brought and mentioned to this committee, please copy, as I've referred you to the chair before, copy and communicate with Chair Bell. We also have the chair of Ways and Means on this committee, who is very experienced in dealing with myriad of issues similar to this. Commissioner Alona Vargas, Chair Ways and Means, our counsel, our commission counsel, Felicia, and our Mr. Mark Abbo. If those are individuals that you would please, on that point, on that issue, keep very much abreast and in the mix on that issue. That would be very appreciated.
Absolutely, we'll do that. We'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you all again. And we'll be in touch. And I'm looking forward to seeing this move forward.
Thank you so much. We do too. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Madam Clerk, next item on the agenda, please.
We're moving to item D2, an update from James Heath, Carter Fisher, Jay Shandor, Bill Rath, and Victoria Innes Edwards regarding the status of the criminal justice complex.
Yes, the chair recognizes Corp Counsel James Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. James Heath, Wayne County Corporation Counsel. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you here today. And I want to move pretty quickly. We've got another meeting that relates directly to some of the procurement issues we're going to discuss here with you. And so I'm going to kick it over very quickly to Bill Rath and some of the other members of our team. But first of all, I want to congratulate you, Mr. Chairman, for your assuming the leadership of this committee. And we've always worked well together, and I know we'll continue to do so. I appreciate that. I also want to give a special thank you to current Vice Chair Anderson for his role in setting up the committee, establishing the working with all commission members, but taking a leadership role in establishing this. I think we did some wonderful work together, and I'm glad that he is still a member of the committee and that we're going to be able to continue to do that. One of the things that you're going to be receiving probably early next week is several communications regarding where we want to go from here, and also with a look back. As you know, Mr. Chairman, now we have been negotiating with Rock Development pretty aggressively and for what seems like a long time now on change orders or changes to the jail that might be considered county changes or the responsibility of Rock. We've made a considerable amount of headway in that regard, and we're going to be spelling out for you exactly where we stand right now. But just as a very, very general overview, I want to let you know about some of the successes that we've had to date. And this is a result in part because of the change order panel that Commissioner Anderson was part of setting up and actually sat on. We've had not too much under $875,000 worth of change orders so far. And what that amounts to is less than 0.15% of the over $600 million in construction costs that ROC estimates will be a part of this project. You're going to be getting a summary kind of detailing what all of those changes have been and what we think that the lion's share of the remaining changes that we are aware of right now will end up being. And we're going to be asking for your for a meeting for your approval of some of those, but we'll go into detail with those in the letter that we send. But also what you're going to be getting is a proposal for reinvigorating that panel. And it's especially important as we go forward, because as we move more into our transition phase for the project, the move-in phase, there is going to be a considerable amount of purchasing that's going to be required to put all the things that go into a building complex of this sort in place. As you know, the commission approved the Source Blue contract that will assist us in that regard, but there's a number of things which our county-based procurement department will also have to move on. Literally hundreds of contracts that are going to be required in a timely fashion so that we can move into the facility and begin operating as soon as we have always anticipated. And so what we're going to be presenting for your review is a process whereby the panel that has already been established, and certainly there'll be members of the commission or commission staff who are going to be a part of that. And I'll leave that to Mr. Chairman, you and Chairwoman Bell to appoint those members. But there's also members from the executive branch who will be a part of that panel, hopefully, and that we will add to our change order duties, but add procurement as well, so that we can expedite the purchases that we need to make in order to move into the facility. It's literally hundreds of contracts, things that we have to move in an extremely timely fashion. One of the unfortunate aspects of COVID has been kind of a slowing of supply chain and other sorts of things. And so time really is of the essence when we move on these things, because of a increased chain in terms of getting those items. But that's just a preview of what's going to be coming. That is going to be hitting the commission's mailbox in the form of a formal letter, and hopefully in the same way we sat down and were able to put together the change order panel, we'll be able to do that with this procurement section as well. One of the things that we're also going to be doing over the next, hopefully the next 2 weeks or so, is bringing on to supplement CGL in-house, a county side facilities manager who will focus their efforts specifically on the CJC complex, not just during our transition phase, but also moving into how we operate the facility going forward. And we'll be giving you more information about that. We're just in the stages of doing some interviewing and the like, but that person will be a great help to our transition efforts as we race against the clock to move in. Also are looking at the possibility of hiring a move management firm to help the end users with the logistics of moving into the new facility. And so while we have CGL under contract and they are helping with development of a lot of the policies and helping our end users figure out how they do what they need to do once they get into the facility, coordinating training, for instance, with the sheriff's department on operating the new newer equipment that they're going to use to operate the adult detention facility and the like. There's just some very real on the ground efforts that need to take place inside of the offices, literally, of those end users who are going to be moving out of the facility. And so we think that that's going to be a value add as well. And so that's just a very quick overview of what you can expect over the next few weeks, and starting with the proposal for the procurement, as well as for an overview of what we've done exactly with respect to change orders so far and what we see on the horizon. I know that you asked for, I guess the committee asked for an update regarding the financial aspects of the CJC, and our Chief Financial Officer, Huey Newsom, had been working closely with Mark Abel and provided some information. I know Huey was on the call. I hope
He's still on, because
I hope he still is.
He called me before, or yeah, I think right before the commission full board, and did do what he said. He sent an email over with some financial information. So is he present?
Yeah. If he's here, I want to give him an opportunity. I know how busy he is to jump in here.
Sorry, I am on the call. I'm just multitasking. Hopefully everybody is on. Commissioner Kenlock, let me know when you're ready for me to talk, if need be.
Okay, so Mr. Heath, are you ready to call on the CFO?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Huey go, and then we're gonna move very quickly on to Victoria, because she's got a procurement meeting for the CJC coming up. So I'm gonna let Huey go, and then we'll move to Victoria and go on with it.
Thank you.
And I don't know if the commission, I can share my screen. I don't know if the commission clerk has the document that I provided to you. If you do have the document that I provided to you, then what I'd like to do is bring up that Excel document. If not, I'm prepared to share it.
I don't have it on hand, Mr. Newsom. Would you mind sharing it?
No problem at all. Let's see if it can work. Okay. So what each of the members of the committee has received is a Word document that was prepared by Mr. Carter Fisher and Mr. James Heath, which details our outstanding obligations for everything that has been agreed to and approved to this point, right? So you got the construction costs. You can go in, and then the Excel document here summarizes those costs. But you can see, if you read the memo, you will see that there's $1.23 million left on construction costs to pay for. The parking concession, not any additional parking, but the parking concession is $28 million to pay on that. Additionally, FF&E as budgeted $16.6 million. The CUP, there's $1.24 million to pay on that. The CUP fit out, there's $3.86 million to pay on that one. And then outstanding CGL consultant obligations, not necessarily for services that have been invoiced, $1.762 million. So that gives us a grand total of $52.7 million left to pay to get the CJC up and running, right? Again, this is any change orders that have not been approved, any additional parking. This analysis does not include that. So that's where the $52.67 million comes into play. And what I did was I tied out to there was a couple of tie outs. There was a tie out to JDE, which talks to the fund balance that's currently left in the 467 fund. So in theory, the way that will work is, as the construction costs for the project were funded with general fund, general purpose money, or proceeds from the bonds for the 2018 bonds, we would accumulate that restricted and unrestricted money into fund balance over the time that money was accumulated, starting way back in 2017. And so the fund balance as it stands at the end of the calendar year last year has $79.9 million, or roughly $80 million left in it. There is some differentiation between cash in the U.S. bank and what you see in fund balance, but they're roughly equivalent. You're going to have some disbursement timing issues that need to be fully reconciled. You'll also have some, you might have some non-spendable assets that make up the fund balance as well. That's sitting in fund balance that's non-cash. And so roughly speaking, you expect to see the same number. It's not going to toss the dollar for what I just described. Right now, we have $82 million sitting in all of the U.S. bank accounts dedicated to the 467 fund or the construction of the CJC. So my goal here is to, with verifiable information, explain and show that we have adequate funding to pay for our commitments for construction, the parking concession, the cups, and for CGL. So are there any questions? And again, this was, and I apologize, this was delivered a little bit. I thought you had it, he had it. I'm happy to come back and present and ask questions between now and the next committee meeting, at the next committee meeting, because you haven't had a chance to digest this, but I did commit to getting this to you for this meeting. It's here in front of you. I'm happy to do whatever, so commissioners' questions are asked.
No, I did. I did let the vice chair know that you were that you sent the information over, and so for the sake of time, because we did receive it prior to our or during our county commission meeting or right before. I'd like to ask committee members if you would review this, and if you have any questions regarding these proceeds and the status of these amounts, to please send email over to Mr. Newsom, and then at next month meeting we will dive into this.
Commissioner, this is Mark Gabo.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I ask Huey a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Huey, you had another schedule that I thought was important to discuss at this meeting, which is the analysis of the jail construction fund. Can we talk about that too, just a little bit, if you wouldn't mind posting that?
Yeah, let me see. I don't have it readily available. This was if I remember correctly, you had the, if I remember correctly, that was the composition of the fund balance, correct?
Yeah, it was a year-by-year composition of the fund balance, and it shows basically on the top, it's all the revenue sources, and on the bottom, all of the uses of cash. And the important part there, which was the objective of this analysis, was we want to compare what our original budget or appropriation was going to be for this project and compare it to what we spent so far. And I think that would give the committee great comfort in seeing that we basically are on track, because I do have the analysis, except it's in paper form right now. It shows that, and this is a little bit inconsistent with the comment, Mr. Heath, that you had made about the payments to ROC, but it may be that there's more than just ROC included in it. Huey, there's definitely going to be more than the ROC. The $400 million with ROC. You've also got in the 467 fund. We're also using that to fund the parking concession and also the cup. Right.
And
so my point is, I think that there needs to be further analysis of the numbers here. But if you take lines 18, 19, 20, and 21, I believe that those are payments to ROC, and it comes to $406 million, where the original contract with ROC was 401, but it includes the other components. We can see the other components of this project, and I'll break them out as, purchasing the DDOT site, which was supposed to be $775,000. I don't know where that's included. I see CGL is 6.1 million. Now on this schedule, you show 4.3, but on your the previous schedule, you show the balance to get us to the 6.1. So that's the type of reconciliation that I think that we need to see just to get that assurance that what we've contracted for and what we've paid is consistent with what the original concept was for this project.
And Huey, I wanted to say, just moving forward, and a couple of things. One, committee members, I know I gave instructions to send your questions directly to the CFO. I want to modify that of sort and direct and request for commissioners or committee members for their questions to Mr. Abel. Mr. Abel, you would then compile that and then forward a list of questions to the CFO. And also just listening to this dialogue, I think it would also be important moving forward for the CFO, like this type of information, anything dealing with dollars, to forward it to Mr. Abel, and then Mr. Abel would then send that information out to the committee members for us to begin to digest. The clerk has also asked for all the information that is being put up on screen today, the Excel sheet that you sent us, and as well as this information, you would please forward it to Pam Lane. If you could forward her a copy of it for the record.
I definitely will.
And Commissioner, I just want to let you know that the CFO and I have been working to look at and evaluate this. This is 90%. Gives me great comfort that the project is consistent with and we are where we expected to be with regards to the original concept and original costing. So I think that we're in a great place right now. I think that there just needs to be a little bit of reconciling to numbers where they belong. I mean.
Oh, absolutely. And the CFO, I appreciate him getting information, following through with the request that came last month and reaching out to me. So I definitely appreciate that. But also so that we have a reference point is very helpful to have staff to review it, and then we can have something, a framework to begin to have some opinions. But I thank him for putting this together with all of the things that he's working on. So let me also ask any other commissioners, committee members, committee members specific, not commissioners, but committee members, do you have any questions of Mr. Newsom?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Mark, and Huey for working together on this. And I know when Mark and I had talked about this offline, was something I think very important to give us a clearer understanding of where we stand and where we have yet to, what we have yet to pay for. And so I think it'll be beneficial what he's asking for all of us.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. And so, Ms. Newsom, does that conclude your part of this update? And does that conclude your portion?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair. I will, and Ms. Lane, you should expect an email from me sometime later this evening, if not immediately after the call.
Thank you.
Okay.
Not a problem. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Heath, you were speaking as relates to the time restriction of Ms. Roberts. Did you want what's your thought on that, Mr. Heath? Miss Ennis Edwards. Are you prepared to bring your portion of the report forward?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
First of all, Happy New Year to all and congratulations as your new appointment as chair. It's good to see everyone.
Thank you.
I promise I'll make this quick. We are tracking in a positive manner. We are not only proud to say, but right now we are looking at a total spend. And when we say total spend, county spend, we are tracking at 56% of the dollars that have been spent are being spent with certified county businesses. So that's well and beyond our goal, and we're very, very excited about that. Right now, we're looking at our workforce, and it fluctuates, as I say, a little bit. We're tracking at 36% of the total workforce thus far that is on the job is Wayne County residents. Just to kind of tie into what Corporation Counsel Heath talked about, we are literally preparing for the next phase, which is going to be the FF&E phase. So you are going to see a tandem approach. You are going to have a plethora of contracts coming through for the fixtures, furniture, hard items that are going to have to be purchased to finish building the box and putting inside the box. There's also going to be contracts later on let by the procurement team. Specifically, think about the things that they use on a daily basis now at the sheriff's office. They still have to mop, they still have to clean, they still need all these items. There will have to be a transitioning of those service contracts as well as additional contracts that are going to be let. So this will continue on for at least another year because we're rolling through one, two, almost 3 phases if you think about it, finishing the actual building, furnishing it, then transitioning into the box. So right now we are very proudly 56% of the dollars spent right now on this project are going to Wayne County certified businesses. So that's something we're very, very excited about. I will put this as agreed in a formal report, and that's going to be sent to Ms. Lane as well. And she'll have that for the record, that she'll be able to have that to look at. And that concludes. Are there any questions that you'd like? I'm sorry, there was a glitch going on. Oh, thank you. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you very much. Our total community spend right now for Wayne County is 56%. That means 56% of all the dollars thus far that we have spent with these businesses have been Wayne County businesses. And I think we should be very proud of that. We've spent a lot of time recruiting, vetting, getting them in the pipeline. So that is something that we have been working very, very hard to do. And we're at 56% of our total spend for county dollars. We are looking at 36% Wayne County residents workforce right now, building the project. You will also see, just like our Corporation Counsel just spoke, you are going to see a multitude of contracts coming through for the FF&E. We are going to have to put in the fixtures, the furniture, all the items, completing the build, then the transition. We're also going to have other contracts, such as the service contracts that each department currently takes care of. You're still going to have janitorial services. You're still going to need copiers, suppliers. All of that is going to have to be coordinated and then pushed over into the new facility. So we're going to continue at that point to also still make sure that we are, again, making sure we include our county-based women and minority-owned businesses, and then our workforce is happening through Wayne County residents.
Thank you, Miss Ennis Edwards. And does that conclude your portion of the report?
Yes, it does, and I will be submitting it formally through the channels as discussed, and Miss Pamela Lane will end up getting that through the TCM system. And again, I apologize. I have need to leave for that procurement meeting we have at 4 o'clock.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for your attendance today.
Mr. Chairman, she's so good she did it twice and still got out by 4.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I hit it twice.
If with your permission, I'd like to move to Bill Rath and Carter Fisher, just in case there's anything else that they need to add, because they're important parts of that procurement meeting as well. So Bill.
James, thank you. I think I just want to mention that for these 30 or so contracts that we need to put in place that are critical to occupancy of the building, that they each need to go through a process of selection, preparation, and installation work. And as we start to forecast the durations required for selection, meaning issuing an RFP, opening bids, making a recommendation, getting through a negotiation and award process, I think I think, James, this is the area where I think we need to find a way to minimize the overall duration of that time, to do our best to contain the overall delivery of the project to schedule. So I just wanted to make that statement. If there are any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any members of the committee who have questions? Okay. Okay, with that being said, thank you for attending as well. Okay. Mr. Heath, as relates to your team presentations, reports, are there any other individuals who have any more information to bring before us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, any committee members, do you have any questions that you might have of Mr. Heath regarding his presentation and report today? Okay, there being no additional questions of Mr. Heath, Madam Clerk, next item on the agenda.
We're moving to item E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I know of no such other matters. Let me ask Mr. Abel and Commission Counsel or Commission Clerk, is there any other information or any other matters that you know of that need to be brought to this committee's attention?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
I have none. No,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, next item on the agenda.
We're moving to item F, public comments.
Madam Clerk, have you received any emails or are aware of anyone who is interested in addressing this committee at this time?
I have received no emails, Chair.
Would you please unmute everyone or ask everyone to unmute? And I would like to ask anyone who is present today who would like to address this committee to please raise your hand to be recognized. Madam Clerk, has anyone indicated raise their hand to be recognized to address this committee?
Not that I can see, Chair.
Is there anyone? Okay, next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
We're moving to item G, adjournment.
Motion is in order to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is there support? Is there support?
Support Anderson.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all and be safe.
Well done, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'm gonna call you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.